You've probably seen the videos. You scroll through social media and see these perfectly staged farmers market stands overflowing with dahlias and sunflowers. Someone is pitching the idea that with a little bit of land and some hard work, you can easily make $50,000 on a single acre of cut flowers. And if you're just looking at a basic spreadsheet, the math almost makes sense. If you assume you can grow 100,000 stems and sell them all for $2 to $4 a piece, it's easy to talk yourself into believing you'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars. But today, we're going to look at the reality of the business. We're going to walk through the actual unit economics, the upfront costs nobody warns you about, and the reality of post-harvest loss, what the industry calls shrink, that quietly puts most small flower farms out of business. Because the truth is, a $50,000 gross revenue projection usually turns into $25,000 or less in your bank account once you account for unsold inventory and field losses. And that's before you even pay yourself for your time. Welcome back to the Farm Analyst. Today, we're doing a detailed stem-by-stem profit breakdown of the quarter-acre cut flower farm. We're going to look at where the money actually leaks out of this business model. Then, I'm going to show you how to restructure your operations, minimize your waste, and actually build a farm that pays you a real salary. Let's get into the numbers. Part 1. The setup costs, seed versus tuber economics. The first place new flower farmers lose money is before they even put a plant in the ground. It usually comes down to not understanding the difference in upfront costs between different types of flowers. When you're sketching out a quarter-acre farm, it's easy to assume all flowers cost roughly the same to get started. They don't. Let's look at a standard 100-foot soil bed, which holds about 250 to 300 plants. If you are growing basic annuals from seed, things like zinnias or sunflowers, the economics are pretty forgiving. A packet of 400 zinnia seeds only costs about 8 or 9 cents per seed. That means you can plant an entire 100-foot bed for roughly $55 to $60. If you make a mistake and half of them don't germinate, it's not a big deal. You're out the cost of a decent lunch. But you can't build a premium, highly profitable flower business just selling zinnias. You need the high-value focal flowers that customers actually want to buy. You need dahlias, ranunculus, and peonies, and this is where the costs catch people off guard. Take a dahlia bed. You don't grow dahlias from cheap seeds. You grow them from tubers. Even if you buy wholesale, you're going to pay $5 to $7 per tuber. To fill that exact same 100-foot bed with 150 to 200 dahlias, your plant cost immediately jumps to somewhere between $750 and $1,400. Want to grow ranunculus? You'll need 400 to 600 corms for that bed, which will cost you $160 to $420 up front. Peonies? Those bare roots will run you $150 to $525 per bed, and because they're perennials, you won't even get a profitable harvest out of them for the first couple of years. And we haven't even factored in the soil. You can't grow premium flowers in compacted dead dirt. To cover a quarter acre with just a standard 1-inch layer of compost, you need about 34 cubic yards of material. At $35 a yard, you're looking at an $1,190 compost bill right out of the gate. Add in $400 to $800 for a basic drip irrigation setup and another $600 to $1,000 for landscape fabric to keep the weeds down. So, before a single flower blooms, a realistic starting budget for a quarter-acre plot is between $1,000 and $2,000 in basic infrastructure, plus thousands more if you want to grow premium varieties. You're in the hole on day 1, and you have to dig your way out. Part 2. The reality of inventory waste. Now let's talk about the most frustrating part of the flower business, spoilage and waste. You put in the work, You amended the soil, the flowers bloomed, and it looks great. You think you're ready to get paid, but you're about to run into the shrink rate. In retail, shrink is the percentage of your inventory that you never actually sell. Small farm market data shows that cut flower farmers typically deal with a 25% to 40% shrink rate. This is the cycle that wears people down. You wake up at dawn to harvest. You build these beautiful bouquets, and then you throw 20% to 30% of them in the compost pile by Sunday night because they wilted. A mixed bouquet often only has a 5 to 9 day shelf life. The second you clip that stem in the field, a clock starts ticking. Let's look at the actual math on that 100-foot bed of zinnias. Let's say you successfully grow 3,000 harvestable stems. In your head, you might do the math and say, 3,000 stems at $2 each means I just made $6,000. But that's not what happens. First, you lose 5% to 10% right there in the field. These are stems that are too short, have bug damage, or grew crooked. Then, you take the remaining stems to a weekend farmer's market. You're dealing with the weather, heat, and slow foot traffic. The flowers sit in your stall, getting slightly more tired by the hour. Between the stems that get damaged in transport and the ones that just don't sell, it's incredibly common to throw away another 10% to 20% of your harvest after the weekend is over. With a 25% overall shrink rate, you didn't sell 3,000 stems. You sold 2,250. Your real gross revenue is $4,500. That's $1,500 of projected income that just vanished. It's exhausting, and it often leads to farmers severely underpricing their bouquets at the end of the market, just so they don't have to throw them away. Part 3. The cost of keeping things cold. To try and solve this wilting problem, every flower farmer realizes they need a walk-in cooler. A standard commercial walk-in cooler will easily cost $6,000 to $20,000. Most small farms know they can't afford that, so they use the DIY CoolBot method. You basically build an insulated room and hook up a heavy-duty 18,000 to 24,000 BTU window AC unit to a controller. It's a great workaround, but building an 8 by 10 foot room still costs money. You'll spend $1,200 to $2,000 on framing and insulation, about $400 for the CoolBot controller, and $800 to $1,500 for the AC unit. So your capital outlay is still around $2,500 to $4,000. But the real issue is the operating cost. During a standard North American summer, that AC unit is going to draw a lot of power. It's going to consume 360 to 900 kilowatt hours a month. Depending on your local electric rates, your cooler alone will add $60 to $160 to your monthly utility bill just to keep your unsold inventory fresh. That single electric bill can eat up 10% to 15% of your gross revenue for the month. Part 4. The labor problem and the commodity trap. But the thing that actually forces most flower farmers to quit isn't the electric bill or the compost costs. It's the sheer amount of physical labor required to make the math work. You might see university crop budgets showing that you can make $15 a square foot on a tiny 60 square foot test plot. But when you scale that up to a quarter acre, which is about 11,000 square feet, the labor requirements become completely unmanageable for one person. People like to call a quarter-acre farm a side hustle. It's not. During peak season, you are looking at up to 37 hours a week just doing manual labor. Here is what that actually looks like. You're spending 8 to 12 hours a week harvesting. And you have to do this at dawn while it's still cold outside, or the flowers will wilt immediately. You're spending 6 to 10 hours a week doing post-harvest work, stripping all the leaves off the stems and moving them into water. you're spending another 6 to 10 hours a week hand-arranging 60 to 100 mixed bouquets for your retail customers. And you're spending 3 to 5 hours a week just washing out dirty buckets with bleach and scrubbing your coolers so bacteria doesn't build up. That's roughly 37 hours of physical work before you even load your truck, drive to the market, set up your tent, stand there for 6 hours, and do your bookkeeping. And your reward for all this work? You end up stuck in the commodity trap. The U.S. cut flower market is flooded with imports. About 80% of the flowers bought in this country come from overseas operations with massive scale. Because of this, the average consumer expects a standard mixed bouquet to cost around $10 to $15. If you sell a $15 bouquet that has 20 stems in it, you're grossing 75 cents a stem. Once you subtract your seed, soil, and packaging costs, you're keeping maybe 50 cents. And when you factor in the 30% of your crop that you had to throw away, your actual revenue per stem grown drops closer to 50 or 55 cents. You end up standing behind a folding table, completely exhausted from a 60-hour week, watching people try to haggle with you over $2. This is why turnover in this industry is so high. Part 5. The Blueprint for Profitability. If you want to actually make a living on a quarter acre, you have to change how you operate. You can't just grow more flowers and hope for the best. You have to treat it like a logistics business. We need to make a few operational shifts to cut down your waste, lower your electric bill, and improve your hourly rate. Here is the exact blueprint to do that. Step 1. Fix your harvest protocols and your cooler. Before you change how you sell, you have to maximize the shelf life of your product. You can actually extend your vase life by 50% to 100% just by tightening up your harvest habits. First, you have to harvest early, between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. You need to cut the stems at an angle using sharp pruners and drop them directly into deep buckets of cold water, ideally between 34 and 38 degrees. The angle cut removes air bubbles in the stem and improves water uptake by about 20%. That one habit adds days to the flower's life. Second, strip the foliage immediately. Any leaf that sits below the waterline will decay. When leaves decay, bacteria levels in the water spike, which blocks the stem from drinking. Stripping leaves in the field reduces wilting by 15% to 25%. Third, use flower food. You can buy commercial packets or mix your own using a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of bleach, and 2 teaspoons of lemon juice per gallon of water. This acidifies the water, lowers the pH, and cuts bacteria growth in half. It costs pennies per gallon and extends the life of the flower by 4 to 10 days. Next, we need to lower the operating cost of your cooler. Unoptimized coolers waste a lot of electricity. To fix this, shade the outside of your cooler with a simple tarp to keep the sun off it. This cuts the AC runtime by 20%. Make sure the door seals are perfectly tight. Most importantly, use the CoolBot Pro app to monitor the temperature remotely so the unit isn't overcooling the room. Farms that implement these basic insulation and monitoring steps see their summer electric bills drop to $45 to $100 a month. Step 2. Transition to a CSA model. Once your product quality is locked in, we need to fix the sales pipeline to eliminate your inventory waste. Instead of hoping people show up to the market, you need to pre-sell your flowers. A flower CSA, community-supported agriculture, means customers pay you upfront in the spring for a weekly bouquet subscription. Let's look at the numbers. A standard price for a 10-week summer share is $225, which breaks down to $22.50 a bouquet. If you cap your quarter-acre farm at 40 subscribers, you bring in $9,000 in gross revenue before the season even starts. But the real benefit is how it affects your shrink rate. Because you know exactly how many bouquets you need to make on Thursday, you only harvest what you need. Farms that switch to a CSA model drop their unsold waste from 30% down to 5% or 10%. Instead of cutting 1,200 stems a week, hoping to sell 800, you just cut 880 stems. You save labor, you save cooler space, and your revenue is guaranteed. Step 3. Sell wholesale to florists. For your high-value flowers, your dahlias, lisianthus, and peonies, stop hiding them in $15 retail bouquets. Sell them directly to wedding florists. Florists don't want mixed arrangements. They want straight bunches of a single variety. A bundle of 10 dahlias will usually wholesale for $12 to $25, which is $1.20 to $2.50 a stem. The reason this is so profitable is the labor savings. Designing a retail bouquet takes time, usually a quarter of a minute per stem just to arrange it. With wholesale, there is no design process. You harvest them, strip the leaves, rubber band 10 identical stems together, and you're done. This cuts your handling time in half. Selling 200 wholesale bunches can easily save you 3 to 5 hours of tedious labor every single week. Plus, because you usually have a standing order with a florist, your shrink rate drops to around 15%. You move volume faster, meaning your effective gross profit per stem grown actually doubles compared to selling retail. Step 4. Dry your unsold inventory. Finally, we need a plan for the stems you simply can't sell fresh. Even with a perfect system, weather spikes will leave you with excess flowers. Instead of throwing them in the compost, you need to dry them. Varieties like strawflower, celosia, and small dahlias dry perfectly if you just hang them upside down in a dark, dry space for a few weeks. The only cost to you is a piece of twine. A simple bundle of dried flowers can retail for $8 to $20 in the fall. If you take an hour to assemble a winter wreath using a $5 wire frame, you can sell that wreath for $40 to $90 during the holidays. If you just save 300 excess stems a week during your summer peak, you'll have an inventory of 3,000 dried stems by the end of the season. You can turn that into 40 to 60 wreaths, recovering over $1,200 in pure profit from flowers you were originally going to throw away. This is how you actually make a farm profitable. You don't get there by working 80 hours a week and planting more seeds. You get there by managing your costs and protecting your inventory. You tighten up your harvest habits to keep the flowers alive longer. You optimize your cooler so it doesn't drain your bank account. You pre-sell your crop through a CSA. You sell your premium stems to florists to save time. And you dry whatever is left over, so absolutely nothing goes to waste. Stop accepting a 30% loss as just part of the business and start engineering your farm for profit. If you want to see the real numbers behind another high-margin crop, like the setup costs and actual returns, make sure to subscribe. Until then, keep an eye on your margins, know your numbers, and I'll see you in the next video.